You know what's funny? This is the first time I take this thing out for a walk in a while. When I had it with me in Asia, I used it for a lot of like little B-roll shots that I never used, and just to kind of get some footage of the family as we were traveling. And I'm going through all my stuff right now because we're getting ready to head out here in about a week and a half or so, to go back to Thailand and to keep traveling. And it's so crazy, man, because I second guess every decision I make, or every decision I have, or every idea that I have. And I really lack a lot of confidence when it comes to, like, I guess, being happy with the choices that I have given myself and the decisions that I've made in my life, even though a lot of decisions I've made have worked out well and, you know, things are good for the most part. It's still hard not to wonder whether or not I'm doing the wrong thing or if what I'm doing is the right thing. And I feel that that's probably really normal. You know, it's funny because it takes a certain level of arrogance and confidence to be able to just think that you're doing everything right all the time. And then I meet people who are like that, who just think that they never make a mistake and they get by with just unwavering arrogance. And it's funny because you'll see a lot of people in corporate settings where you're just like, how did you get to where you're at? You're kind of stupid. You obviously don't know what you're doing, but yet here you are making some big decisions and everybody's got to kind of listen to you. And whatever you say doesn't really make sense half of the time. But yet we all still, you know, follow along with what you're saying because you're the boss. And you're the boss mostly because you're extremely confident. I struggle with that a bit. And I don't know, maybe it's just an upbringing thing. Maybe it's just because I wasn't really ever told that I was great at anything. And I didn't have parents that helped me build my confidence. And then I just had to figure out that stuff on my own. And now, as an adult, I just don't really feel confident in a lot of the decisions I make. Real quick, you gotta just see how nice my brother-in-law's property is. Although it's hard to tell here, but because he cleared it and it got clear cut, and he's got a lot of rubbish and trees and things that he's got to get rid of. But I just want to show you guys how nice this is. He's got 20 acres up here in the mountains. Just look at this. It's beautiful. It's all surrounded by trees. It was, you know, forest at one point, but when he bought it, they cleared it as part of the sale. So they took all the trees off of it, but you can still see he's got the mountains in the background. And it's just super nice. I'm gonna try to go somewhere where it's a little more quiet because the road right here is super loud. There's a lot of trucks because he lives by a quarry, and there's a lot of gravel trucks and big trucks that drive by up here. I know the lighting might not be great right here, but I'm just trying to walk a little bit, get out of the office. I've been sitting in front of that computer for too damn long now, and I'm getting antsy and nervous about, you know, making this trip. And, you know, when I kind of see what my brother-in-law has built for himself, I see his property and I see his family and his kids growing up and them building their dream house on their dream land and doing all this stuff. It's hard to question my decisions and what me and my wife are doing with our kids, right? Because we're kind of taking the complete opposite path. We're doing something totally different, and we're doing something that is just not really normal, right? It's not really what you're supposed to do. And then when I see my brother-in-law, who is just doing what you are supposed to do and living a happy life, I question, why am I not happy doing that, right? I've tried it. We've had the house, we've had the picket fence, we've had all that before. Maybe I didn't have 20 acres, but it's not something I ever really wanted, if I'm being honest, because I'm not cut out to deal with this stuff, you know? He's on a tractor and an excavator, you know, clearing this place up and constantly working on his property because he likes doing that. And his wife is a trad wife, so she's tending to the chickens and the pigs, and it's not like what we want, but we have had the stability before, and we keep going back to this strange way of living because we feel that maybe we're not getting the most out of life if we just kind of sit around. But then I start to question it again. I start to be indecisive and not know whether or not it's the right thing to do. You know, I've been able to kind of live off of YouTube. Paying for our travels has been fine. I'm looking at like probably making 50,000 by the end of the year from YouTube and all my online money. And that's without like any courses and without anything that brings in extra money beyond just doing like some sponsored stuff and some affiliate stuff on the main YouTube channel and whatever I get with ad revenue. I know I could be making more, and I want to, and I've worked on some indie hacking projects, and I'm gonna get away from this road. See if there's a good spot somewhere over here that maybe blocks a little bit of the noise, because those trucks are loud. Maybe sit on a log over here. That looks like a friendly log, doesn't it? Yeah. Still can't get over how nice his property is. Like I was saying, like, we're doing fine. Yeah, we've dipped into a tiny bit of our savings, but we've also pre-planned a lot of our trip, and we've paid for stuff in advance. So like the next 2 months or so are kind of paid for. We paid for our airline tickets months ago for our return, because we knew like if we go back to the US, we need a return ticket to Asia, because it might be too enticing for us to stay, because it's hard when you come home and you visit family and you start questioning your decisions again, right? And like I said, it's just normal. I really do think it's normal, but it's hard, especially when you're doing something so different and something so outside of the box, outside of what everybody tells you you're supposed to do. I think that's when you question your decisions even more, because even regular decisions like, you know, what kind of car to buy, or what house you want to live in, or what neighborhood you want to live in. Like, those are all hard decisions that you can question. But when you decide to quit your job and travel full time with a family and live off of YouTube and try to figure out how to make internet money, and that's a whole nother level of craziness. More of those trucks are driving by. You can probably hear them. I don't know, they're over there. I'm just gonna talk over those trucks because I can't pause every time that they decide to drive by. Everything's just fine, but it's still super stressful. It's very stressful. Somebody asked me in the last comment, like, if I could talk about like depression and anxiety. And, you know, that's stuff that I've dealt with, I'm dealing with, I will always deal with. I think that some people are more predisposed to it. I think a lot of it also has to do with like your lifestyle, and the way that you live also really affects your mental health in a lot of ways. And, you know, there's been a lot of studies about more active people being happier, and people who work outside being happier, and people who get outside being happier. And, you know, if you're sitting in an office all day in a dark room, you know, staring at a screen, consuming social media, doing stuff that doesn't bring you value, of course you're not going to be happy. But then some of us are just a little bit more depressed than others. And, you know, my mom has really bad depression. My uncle has really bad depression. So it kind of like runs in my family. And then I grew up around that. So I'm constantly feeling like a negative Nancy. My wife calls me that all the time. And she grew up the polar opposite. She grew up in a nice household in a, you know, white picket fence, 20-acre property, similar to like what her brother has going on here. And, you know, she had a nuclear family with mom, dad, and siblings, and horses and cows, and just a nice little life in a nice little small town. And I grew up just really not anything like that. Not only my environment was bad, but also like the people around me just had a negative outlook on life. And it's hard for me to kind of get over that sometimes. It's hard for me to not think like that, because it feels like it's just so ingrained in how I think, and it feels like it's just how I am, because that's kind of how I was brought up. You know, I think I started off as a cigarette smoker because everybody in my household smoked cigarettes. So I grew up being negative and depressed because everyone in my household was negative and depressed. And I'm trying to break that cycle. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not like that with my kids, and I'm not like that in my own household. But it's hard because sometimes, you know, even when I should be happy, I'm not. And even when I shouldn't be happy, I'm really, really unhappy. So it's tough. And I try to like hide that stuff from my kids as best as I can, but it comes out, you know, everything always comes out in the wash. I don't know if that saying makes any sense for what I'm talking about, but It's true, but I still do my best to shield them from, I guess, who I really am. And then I find myself, I don't know if it's like not being true to myself, but then when I started making content on the other channel, I felt like I was also kind of not being who I really am. And you put on like a fake smile for the camera and you act excited about things that you're not really excited about talking about. And then, it's just kind of putting on that mask every day. And, I did that a lot when I went to work and didn't want to. And I did that a lot when I made videos and I didn't want to, be excited and energetic and happy. And then when I made those videos where I'm kind of talking about this stuff, everybody's like, oh, you're fucking depressing. But it's like, I mean, dude, I think a lot of us are like this. I think there's a lot of us that are kind of going through it and not enough people talk about it. And it sucks because when I really like step back and I kind of think about everything I have and how lucky I am to be healthy and how lucky I am to have healthy kids and a healthy wife and like a nice family. And, I haven't had any serious loss in my life in a long time. I lost my grandmother when I was a kid and some friends along the way, but like really close family members, like everybody's good. On paper, I should be good. On paper, I shouldn't question myself so much because all of my decisions that I've made up until this point have been pretty good. On paper, I shouldn't be depressed and anxious because my life isn't bad. My life is actually really good. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe I feel like this because life is too easy and then I want to challenge myself, but then I challenge myself with something completely crazy, like quitting my job and traveling the world, and then life gets really, really hard and now I'm stressed. There's a saying that my mom used to tell me when I was a kid, and it's pretty inappropriate now that I think of it, but it was just kind of like the way I grew up. And it's a Spanish saying, and it goes, si te la meten, grita, si te la sacan, llora. And to translate that to English, it's, if they stick it in, you scream. If they take it out, you cry. And it just means that, you're not happy no matter what. And, as crazy as my mom was and as crazy as my life has been and as crazy as some of my decisions are recently, I don't think I would want to live anybody else's life. Even when things are going rough and I kind of sit back and think like, gee, I wish I was a little bit richer. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a rabbit in a hat and a 6 faux Impala. I think that's how it goes. I'm old. None of you younger kids are going to know what that song is, but the older guys will, at least if you grew up in hip-hop community or in the culture. Yeah, man, I don't know. I guess what I wanted to say with this video is that it's perfectly fine to question your decisions. It's perfectly fine to feel anxious and depressed sometimes. I think it's normal. It's not normal to be happy all the time. It's also not normal and good to be depressed and sad all the time. I think you just gotta keep doing the things that lead to like good, healthy habits and lifestyle and happiness, the things that are supposed to be good for you, and do more of that and do less of the shitty stuff. And a lot of the decisions along the way, you're probably going to question them. You're probably going to feel like maybe you're not doing the right thing. Maybe you're making a mistake, but only time will tell. I might look back in a few years and think like, damn, I wish I would have done things differently. But every time I look back now at my life and think about everything I've done up to this point, there are some things I would have done differently. But as a whole, ever since I tried to start doing better and improving my life and just being a better human being and being a healthier person, trying to be happy, like it has been better and I have seen success. And I think that's the thing, right? Like as long as your ultimate goal is to actually just be in a better position than you are now, as you work towards it, you're gonna have a lot of ups and downs and things that make you question your decisions and things that make you question what you're doing. But just kind of take a step back, just like I have to take a step back sometimes and realize that I've got a good life and a happy family and a healthy family and good kids and a good wife. And, I know that some people might be like, well, yeah, you're lucky that you have those things. And I agree, I am lucky, but that it came over time and it happened with a lot of just living life. My wife was just a girl that I was seeing at some point who eventually became a serious thing, who then eventually became my wife, who then eventually became my life partner and my baby mama, the mother of my children. And, you know, that all started by me just meeting her at a bar. You don't know where life will take you sometimes. And going to a bar, a lot of the times, was a bad decision. And I questioned those decisions, but some of those decisions led to good things, like what I have now. And yeah, maybe I'm lucky, but don't feel like you're unlucky because you don't have like what I have now. When you start comparing yourself to other people, and that's when you start feeling more unhappy. And I notice I do that a bit as well, and it's not good. And I just gotta like take a look at what I have, what I can improve, what I have going for me, what I can make better, and where I want to be. And that's what you should do too. That's enough with this motivational bullshit. Not trying to be motivational. I'm literally just kind of taking a walk and talking about what's on my mind. Definitely getting nervous about going back to Asia. There's a lot of flooding where we're supposed to be, and I kind of feel bad going there as a tourist, feeling that I'm taking up people's resources, the locals that live there who are going through it right now in a national disaster, and we're heading over there to like vacation. So I think some of my efforts, I've been talking about it with my wife. I think that it'd be good for my kids, it'd be good for us to do a little philanthropy or just try to help people out in the community while we're there, because nothing feels more wrong to me than going somewhere where people are struggling and then just kind of being a spoiled fucking tourist. And that was one of the big questions that I've had, and thinking about that, and want to see what I can do when I get out there, even if it's just move some sandbags around or help somebody put up a fucking wall. I don't know. I should do something because it feels wrong, just kind of feeling like I'm taking advantage of people in poor countries. As someone who grew up with an immigrant parent from a poor country, I understand like that aspect of life, and I had a lot of friends that grew up that way, so it never feels right, but it's the only way that I can afford to do what I'm doing, and that's just part of some of the stuff I've been questioning. All right, I feel like this has gone off the rails now. I'm gonna wrap it up, and hopefully you guys found some helpfulness. Oh shit, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. It scared the shit out of me. Look at that. You see that? It's literally walking right in front of me. I grew up in the hood. I never saw no deer walking by like that. I remember the first time when I came out here with my wife when we were still dating. It was actually for my brother-in-law's wedding, where I'm staying at now. It was his wedding. And in town, there was a deer eating out of a trash can, and I thought it was the coolest shit ever. Like, we parked a car, I took pictures and selfies with the deer because I never grew up around this kind of stuff. And here I am just sitting in the woods on his 20 acres with the deer just strolling through, hanging out as I'm trying to make a shitty YouTube video. Hilarious. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.